Cartoons. It's something we collectively don't give a second thought to. Most of us watch them out of pure enjoyment. Maybe you were forced to watch them as a way for your parents to get some space, or maybe you use them as an escape from whatever living situation you found yourself in. Whatever the case, you might assume that these cartoons are nothing more than just a distraction, something to put on just to kill some time. But I'd argue that these cartoons from my generation and on have had much more of an effect on all of us than just appeasing our shrinking attention span. It might seem like I'm looking too deep into things, but there's been an astonishing amount of thought that has gone into some of your favorite childhood cartoons. Even while researching for this, it really hit me just how much I've been influenced by the shows that I chose to watch when I was younger. I had the benefit of growing up at the end of the 90s, that weird transition period from millennial to Gen Z. So not only did I grow up with a ton of 90s cartoons, but I also got the new generation of 2000s and 2010s cartoons. And there's a few things that I've noticed when rewatching some of my childhood favorites. I've noticed that when you watch the earlier cartoons from before the 2000s, they shaped us into becoming better people. They were more focused on the individual improving themselves. And as we've gotten older, cartoons have as well. We've gone from simple things like learning to solve problems, whether it be solving mysteries with the Scooby Gang or banding together as a group to overcome huge obstacles, to being shown true character development and real relationships, breaking social norms and striving for a more accepting society. There's no better way to explain this point than to actually take a look at some of the classics from each decade. Let's start with the 90s. Rugrats was a no-brainer to include on this list, as it's one of the first shows that people think of when they hear 90s cartoons. Every episode, we see the entire gang of babies tackle problem after problem, only being able to solve them because they are there to support each other. To put into perspective, 3-year-old me was still pooping his pants watching this show, and I didn't even realize that I was learning one of the most basic forms of human connection: friendship. I learned at a very young age that having a group of trustworthy people to go to can make life a hell of a lot easier, and that reigns true even today. I have a group of lifelong friends that I met in high school because of our stupid cinema club, but thanks to that group of guys, I've been able to become the person that I am today. Whenever I have a problem, I know I can rely on one of these amazing individuals to listen to me and hear out what I have to say. But what about those times where it's a problem I have to face on my own? Perhaps I need to overcome an irrational fear of mine. Well, that's where shows like Courage the Cowardly Dog came in. I learned that the world can be a very scary place, but no matter how scary it gets, if I face my problems head on, even if I'm terrified while I'm doing it, I can overcome any problem that I set my mind to. Even other issues, such as fitting in, can be seen in these 90s cartoons. Classics like Ed, Edd n Eddy showcase this on full display. The entirety of that show is the Ed Boys trying their absolute hardest to fit in. They create all these events, plans, and scams in the hopes that their classmates will like them. And if you disagree, go watch the finale of the show. We spend an entire hour-long special watching the Ed Boys run away from their problems, and things only get better for them once they take accountability, apologize, and are just themselves. When that happens, they are celebrated and accepted. Obviously, I don't really see how you could watch this ending and think otherwise, as I interpreted the ending as the creators telling us that it's okay to be ourselves and be proud of who we are. In fact, people will love you for it. Another cartoon that had a lasting impression on me, and possibly even you, was Scooby-Doo, with the underlying theme I took away being that sometimes the people causing us the most trouble are the ones we believe to be the most trustworthy and honest. This is why villains in the show are always reputable adults that seem close to the Scooby Gang but are just putting on a fake face for their own personal gain. Notice how none of the monsters in the show are actually real, minus the amazing gem that is Scooby-Doo on Zombie Island, but for most of the series, the monsters are always humans. A play on how disgusting humans can be, with the creators trying to get across not to be too naive, and to always remember to think for yourself. Because you honestly never know. You might discover one day that one of your closest friends is actually your greatest enemy. That's what I've taken away from this era of cartoons. I was taught to love myself, be smart about who I choose to befriend, and never let my fears get in the way of my dreams. As I got older, I took these values and expanded upon them with 2000s cartoons. In order for you to fully understand how much of an impact these cartoons had on me, I wanted to explain basically how I was raised, because I feel like it gives a lot of backstory as to why these cartoons mean so much to me now. I grew up in a very Catholic and Christian household. Now, I'm not saying that all Christian, Catholic, or religious households go over the values that I was taught, but in my personal experience, I was taught a lot of anti-LGBT ideas. Thankfully, I had cartoons like Regular Show or Steven Universe to beat those ideas out of me. I learned not only to love myself, but to love those around me, regardless of how different they appeared to be. Sometimes all it takes to make some amazing connections in your life is to look past those differences and see the amazing, beautiful people standing in front of you. Whether it was Rigby learning to love Eileen, a character that he was noticeably repulsed by during their first interaction, going from this awkward alone time to getting married and having kids. Or the amazing partnerships that we see in Steven Universe. We are constantly introduced to themes of going against the norm and loving yourself for it, with one of the best songs and fight scenes in the entire series written around two characters that went directly against the grain. One thing I really enjoyed about Steven Universe as a whole was that these characters didn't feel shoehorned in. I feel like many of us can agree that we want LGBT representation, but not in the in-your-face corporate style. Majority just want developed characters that just so happen to have a different orientation, and that's where Steven Universe shines. Change the sex of the characters and the storylines still remain amazing, obviously with a few caveats here and there, but the show nails how this representation should be done. Make the characters have personality and depth, don't boil them down to stereotypes. And keep in mind, I'm taking these ideas into my life. When I go home from school, I go watch these cartoons and go back to school and discuss them with my friends. Slowly but surely, I began to see a change in myself, but we didn't get to these cartoons and we didn't get to this time by accident. There were a few cartoons before this that paved the way for the 2010s cartoons to shine. Before we had strong female leads like in Steven Universe, we had shows like Kim Possible. This cartoon single-handedly changed our perception of gender going into the 2010s. It's one of, if not the first cartoon, where all of the female characters are not only smarter, but stronger than the male characters. This is shown by Kim and Shigo doing all of the fighting and being some of the main plot drivers in the show, while the male characters appear more like side characters, minor roles meant to aid and support their much stronger main role counterparts. An even earlier cartoon that you all should know about is SpongeBob. The ever-increasing supply of SpongeBob memes just goes to show how incredibly relatable and influential this show was. But it's not relatable for how deep and developed the characters are. It's well known for quite the opposite. Many of the best episodes from the show are when the characters are at their most carefree, whether it's SpongeBob rapping about Krusty Krab pizza or Patrick being himself. We learn that every so often, it's best to enjoy the short amount of time that we have with those around us. Everything that I've said so far is what I've personally taken away from the cartoons that my generation had. Am I saying that cartoons single-handedly raised me and showed me every single value that I have? No, I'm not. I'm just saying that these cartoons have influenced us, no matter how big or how small. They simply planted the tiny seeds of these ideas and allowed us to blossom them into fully developed personality traits. I got the idea for this video a few years ago in my sociology class when we were learning about agents of socialization and basically the first contact you have with things around you that change your mind and change the way that you act. The first thing I thought of was cartoons because I had a special connection with a lot of them. And I'm sure that most of you watching this also share that connection. In fact, if you're watching this, you're probably upset that I haven't mentioned your favorite cartoons, but don't be. Take this as a sign to go and relive your childhood. Maybe you'll begin to see just how much your favorite cartoons have had an influence on you. That's going to be it for today's video. I want to give a special thanks to everyone for showing so much support on the last Opal analysis that I did. Not gonna lie, it actually inspired me to make this video today because I've been trying to do more passion-driven projects, talking about stuff that I really care about, and this was one of them. I actually got the idea for this video a long time ago in my sociology class. This video was originally a project that I turned in for a grade. It's actually still up on my channel as unlisted, but I went back, tweaked a lot of the script because a lot of it was mostly going over sociology terms, but I feel like the general idea was actually pretty good. Because I do, in my heart of hearts, believe that cartoons have had a significant impact on the way that I think and act around everyone around me. Even if I can't go back and pinpoint the exact moment in time where I learned certain things about life from cartoons, I know for a fact that they did have a significant impact on me growing up. Now, really quick before we end this off, analog horror, icebergs. I put them together to make this custom sticker. I will personally send this sticker to your house along with a signed letter about why I started my channel. So if you want that, be sure to sign up before the end of April or before we reach 100 members on Patreon. I only have 100 of these and 9 of them are already gone, so make sure to get yours before they're all taken. Speaking of which, it's time for the patron shout out. Thanks to everyone that has joined the Patreon so far. We have 8 members as of today, with 7 of them being in the highest possible tier. So thanks to you guys. Those individuals are displayed on the screen right now. Just wanted to give a humongous thanks to those people for choosing to support the channel. You guys are honestly the reason I'm able to do this. Just wanted to end the video off with just a huge thank you. Now, with all that said, I will see you all in the next video. Thanks for watching.